There is one moment in a traffic stop that most lawful gun owners misunderstand, and it is the moment that gets people in trouble in 2026. It is not when the lights turn on behind you. It's not even when the officer asks, "Any weapons in the car?" It's the quiet moment when the officer's tone changes. They stop explaining. Their shoulders tighten. Their hand drifts closer to the holster. You hear radio chatter. Then a second cruiser slides in behind you, and nothing official happened. No arrest, no warning. But you just became the suspect. This is what courts and departments are now treating as investigative escalation. And after a shocking 6-3 ruling, many agencies are acting like they need less and less justification to flip a stop from casual to criminal, especially when a firearm is involved. Here's the part nobody tells you. This shift does not come with a warning. You only notice the signs, and by then, your words, your posture, even your silence can stop being neutral and start becoming evidence. So in this video, I'm giving you 10 new gun rules every owner must know for 2026. Simple English, no legal lectures, and stay to the end because rule number 10 is the one that ruins good guys the fastest without them realizing it. Hit like now to keep this information moving, and subscribe if you want more plain language updates. Rule number 1 is the big mindset shift. If you're carrying and you get stopped, you're not in a normal conversation. You are in a legal event. A lot of people think, if I'm polite, calm, and honest, I'll be fine. Polite helps, calm helps. But honesty can hurt if it turns into extra details. Here's what is changing in 2026. Gun owners are reporting that officers are escalating stops faster. And after recent rulings, departments are tightening protocols and treating hesitation, vague answers, or too lawyer-like speech as a reason to dig deeper. What does that look like in real life? You give a long answer to a short question. You try to explain the law. You ramble because you're nervous. You guess instead of saying you don't know. From your point of view, you're cooperating. From the officer's view, you're building a story. So your new rule is simple. Answer only what is asked. Keep it short. Don't guess. Don't volunteer extra facts. Don't give a legal lecture. If you don't understand a question, say, "I'm not sure I understand. Can you repeat that?" If you don't know something, say, "I don't know." That is safer than guessing. Because once that tone shift happens, once the stop becomes investigative, everything you say is now filtered through a threat lens. And the faster you talk, the faster you can talk yourself into a problem. And that leads into rule number 2, because the next thing officers read is not your words, it's your hands. Rule number 2, when a firearm is in the picture, your hands become the story. You can be the nicest person on earth, but if your hands move fast, reach into the wrong place, or disappear for a second, the officer's safety brain turns on. And in 2026, officer safety is still the most common reason stops get escalated in the moment. So here's the 8th grade version. Hands on the wheel, no sudden moves, no digging. Speak first, then move. If it's dark, turn on your interior light. Roll down the window enough to talk clearly. Keep your hands where they can be seen. And here, it's the key. Do not reach for your wallet or glove box the second you asked for license and registration. Many lawful carriers do this automatically. It feels normal. But with a gun involved, it can look like you're reaching for something else. Instead, say this. "Officer, my license is in my wallet. My registration is in the glove box. My hands are on the wheel. How would you like me to proceed?" Then wait. Let the officer tell you what to do. This is not weakness. This is control. Because if the situation escalates, body camera footage doesn't show your intention. It shows your movement. And movement is what gets described later in reports as furtive, quick, or non-compliant. Now, here's the cliffhanger. Many gun owners think the biggest mistake is saying the wrong thing. Sometimes, the biggest mistake is saying nothing, especially if your state has a duty to inform. Rule number 3 is the silent trap that still gets lawful carriers arrested in 2026. Failure to inform. In some states, you must disclose your carrying, not later, not after the officer asks, not after they notice a holster. You must do it early. Here's how people get trapped. They get pulled over. The officer looks busy or rushed. The officer doesn't ask about weapons. The driver stays quiet to avoid tension. But in a duty to inform state, silence is not neutral. Silence can be the crime. And here at Moy, it's what makes it worse. Courts in many places treat late disclosure the same as no disclosure. If you wait until the officer sees the holster, or hears something on the radio, or catches a glimpse of your permit when you open your wallet, the report can say you hesitated. That word matters. Hesitation becomes evidence that you tried to hide it. So if your state requires disclosure, you do it immediately and briefly. Use one clean sentence. "Officer, I need to inform you I have a legal concealed firearm. How would you like me to proceed?" That's it. No extra details, no jokes, no long story. Hands still visible. This one sentence can be the difference between a warning and handcuffs. And if your state does not require disclosure, That's rule number 4, and most people get it backwards. Rule number 4. If the law does not require you to disclose, do not volunteer firearm details unless you are directly asked. This is where good people make a good person mistake. They think bringing it up early proves they're responsible, but the moment you introduce a gun into the conversation, you change the entire temperature of the stop. Now the officer may want to disarm you for safety, extend the stop, call back up, ask more questions, or look for a reason to search. And remember rule number 1, once the stop becomes investigative, your words are not treated like friendly information. They are treated like puzzle pieces. So the rule is simple. If not asked, don't mention it. If asked, answer clearly and briefly. Do not ramble. And do not try to sound legal. Many people think they should talk like a lawyer. That can backfire. Short and respectful is safer than fancy. Now, here's the next twist. Even if you do everything right, you still need something that protects you later, after memories fade and stories change. That's rule number 5. Record first, speak second. Rule number 5 is one of the most practical habits you can build in 2026. Record first, speak second. This is not about being rude. It's not about auditing the police. It's about proof. In most states, you can record public officials during lawful encounters in public, including during a traffic stop, especially if you're in your own car. But the recording only helps if you start early and say it calmly. Don't hit record after things get tense. Don't wait until voices rise. Start when the stop is still calm. Use a simple line. For both our safety, I'm recording this encounter. That sets a calm tone and creates a clean record. Because here's what happens when you don't record. Your memory fights the report. And courts don't love he said, she said. They love evidence. Also remember, if the only video is the officer's body camera, guess whose version of events it usually supports? Even if the officer is honest, that camera angle and audio can miss what you meant, what you heard, and what you saw. So build the habit now. Phone ready, record legally, speak calmly. And this connects to self-defense too, because one of the most misunderstood changes in 2026 is how some places are stretching the castle idea into your vehicle. Rule number 6. Many people picture castle doctrine as a home-only concept. Locked doors, a late-night intruder, defensive rights inside your house. But in 2026, some jurisdictions are sharpening the idea that your vehicle can sometimes be treated like an extension of your home. If it is illegally parked, you're not committing a crime, and someone threatens you while you're inside. What changes with that? In some places, your defensive rights may trigger earlier. Prosecutors may have less room to argue you should have exited the vehicle. In several recent situations, the legal trend suggests that if you're inside the vehicle and facing a credible threat, the law may protect your decision to defend sooner than before. But big warning, this does not mean your car becomes a free fire zone. All the same questions still matter. Was the threat real? Did you escalate? Were you trying to retreat if you could? And here again is the key part from recent real-life outcomes. Staying inside the vehicle can help preserve protection. Stepping out can destroy it. In one late 2025 Florida situation, the defender stayed in the car and avoided charges. In another case, just a few states over, charges were filed because the driver got out and engaged. Same idea, different outcome, because the law treated the moment you left the vehicle as a shift from defense to confrontation. So the simple rule, if you must defend yourself from inside your car, stay in, stay calm, and let the vehicle be the legal shield it can be. The second you open that door, you may step out of protection. Now let IS move from the car to your front door, because rule number 7 is where many lawful owners accidentally invite a problem inside. Rule number 7 happens at home, and it's one of the sneakiest mistakes gun owners make. You hear a knock. It's law enforcement. Maybe a neighbor called. Maybe someone saw you unloading a range bag and panicked. Maybe it's a noise complaint. You think, I did nothing wrong. So you open the door wide, you step back. You try to be helpful. And that's when the trap starts. The officer leans a little closer. They glance past you. They ask, mind if I step inside? Or worse, they don't ask, and they simply keep talking while drifting forward. Now you're dealing with potential warrantless entry. And in 2026, more departments are operating under looser interpretations of implied consent. That means prosecutors can argue you consented even if you never said, come in. If you opened the door wide, stepped back, or said sure without thinking, they may claim you invited entry. Here's the kicker. Once inside, anything they see can become part of a report, even if it has nothing to do with why they came. Loose ammo on a table, a rifle still out from a range trip, a storage detail that's not perfect. Now it's evidence. So your rule is simple. Don't open the door all the way. Don't step back like you're inviting entry. If they don't have a warrant, you don't have to let them in. Be respectful. Speak through the door or through a small opening. You can say, Officer, I'm happy to speak out here. Do you have a warrant? Because once they are inside, I didn't know won't rewind the scene. Now, if you think that's bad, rule number 8 is even more common, and it happens in the driver ES seat with one friendly question. Rule number 8, the consent to search trap. There is a moment in many stops where the officer stops asking casual questions and starts hunting for probable cause. They scan your car, they watch your hands, and then they ask in a smooth, polite voice, "Mind if I take a quick look in the vehicle?" It sounds harmless, it sounds like a small favor, and if you're nervous, you might say, "Sure, I guess," or "I don't have anything to hide." That is the moment the search begins, and you handed them the key. Once you give verbal consent, many protections vanish. Courts often don't care that you were confused or trying to be polite. They hear that yes as permission. So the best line is short, calm, and clear. "I don't consent to any searches, officer." No attitude, no long explanation. Just that. Say it once, calmly, then stop talking. If they search anyway, you have preserved your strongest legal defense. If you argue or lecture, you can create new problems. And no, refusing consent does not make you sound guilty. It makes you sound like someone who knows their rights. Here's the truth. Polite people go to jail all the time, not because they did something wrong, but because they didn't know when to say no. Before we hit the last 2, quick pause. If you're still watching, drop a comment with the state you carry in. Law is very fast, and that helps everyone learn. Now, rule number 9, checkpoints, because many gun owners treat them like normal stops and walk right into trouble. DUI checkpoints, safety roadblocks, emergency evacuation stops, these can be legal under federal precedent, but only within specific limits. The problem is that many lawful carriers treat checkpoints like a full traffic stop and assume officers can ask anything, search anything, and detain as long as they want. That's wrong, and it's dangerous. At most checkpoints, officers can stop you briefly, ask for license and registration, and do a quick look for clear signs of intoxication or immediate threats. But unless they see something that creates probable cause, or unless you volunteer suspicious details, they can keep you there forever and go digging for firearm violations. So where do gun owners mess up? The officer asks, "Do you have any weapons in the vehicle?" Then the driver panics and overshares, "Yes, I have a pistol in the glove box, but I have a permit." Now they've just served 2 things on a plate, location details and a reason to extend the encounter. Here's how you handle it. If your state requires disclosure, keep it short. "I'm a lawful concealed carry permit holder and I'm carrying as required by law." Then stop. No extra details. If your state does not require disclosure and the officer has no legal reason to search, you can keep your answers minimal and ask the golden question. "Am I free to go?" That question is a test. If the answer is yes, you leave. If the answer is no, it's now a detention and the rules shift. Remember, checkpoints are limited. But if you treat them like a blank check, you will lose the protection you worked hard to build. And now we're at rule number 10, the movement script, the one that changes everything in 3 seconds. Rule number 10 is the one that gets good people hurt, disarmed, or charged because it feels so small. Reaching. Reaching for your wallet. Reaching for registration. Reaching toward the glove box. This innocent motion is one of the most misread actions during armed stops. In 2026, the risk is bigger because recent rulings and policies have given officers broader room to escalate based on perceived threats, even if the threat is just a misunderstood movement. So you need a movement script, word for word, every time. Here it is. "Officer, my license is in my back right pocket. My registration is in the glove box. I'm going to move slowly to get it. Is that okay?" Then you wait. No half reaches, no fumbling while talking, no guessing what the officer wants. You let them give the green light, because in reports, your motion becomes the story. If the officer says you reached quickly, that becomes the narrative. If they say you moved without permission, that becomes non-compliance. And courts often review the officer's perception, not your intention. Prosecutors love ambiguous movement because it lets them paint you however they want. Nervous becomes evasive, confused becomes erratic, reaching becomes threatening. But when you speak first and move second, slowly, visibly with permission, you remove ambiguity. You build the cleanest record possible. And that can be the difference between going home and going to court. Now let's close it out with a simple recap you can actually remember. Let's recap the lifesavers. Rule number 5, record early, because proof beats memory. Rule number 8, never give consent to a search. Say, "I don't consent to any searches, officer." Rule number 10, speak first, move second. Use the movement script every time. And don't forget the bigger message. The most dangerous part of the stop is when the tone changes and you become the suspect without warning. Your calm matters, your hands matter, your words matter. If this video helped you, hit like so more gun owners see it before they learn the hard way. Subscribe for more plain English updates because 2026 is moving fast and enforcement is changing. And drop a comment, which rule surprised you most? Which one will you start using today? Share this with one responsible gun owner you care about, because people don't hear these rules until it's too late.